the impact that was actually felt was actually there. Those who actually think that it's not big enough to actually impact the whole industry, which is true, because there's multi-factors that's coming in. Those who are actually impacted, yes, they do see sales being slashed, but at the same time, to the industry, it also creates opportunity for new businesses to come up. So at the same time, where you see sales will decreasing for certain brands and certain segments, at the same time, new brands are being created and introduced, and some of them have actually flourished. Some brands that I didn't even know existed.
The coffee industry.
Yeah. Coffee industry is one.
Yeah.
Well, we're not supposed to sell brands, right? But yes, in the lights of coffee,
boycott of certain international
fried chicken, I have to actually say that. And I'm kind of okay with that, with the kind of quality that they're actually putting in. So these opportunities, for every threat or every risk or every problem, there is an opportunity. This is exactly that. Which comes to the point of, as an industry, the growth is still there. There's changes that's happening, yes. It's a matter of how do we actually mitigate those risks. And now going to the question that was actually directed to me. There are, in the past few years, we see such exercises called asset enhancement initiatives or asset repurposing. And the coining of words like re-engagement with stakeholders. These ideas basically evolve from the idea of the more collaborative nature of not just occupying a space, but in terms of conducting businesses. So the repurposing exercises is seen, and we expect it to continue, especially for the older stock buildings. Because even within KL, for example, there's 160 million square feet of office spaces. 150 million square feet are actually privately owned office spaces. 10 million square feet is actually owned by the government. Within the 150 million square feet, there's grade A buildings, freshly, newly, the PNB Merdeka 118 buildings of the world, second tallest building in the world, and the largest. But also at the same time, we actually have the older stock building, the one that's been around for 40 years, for 50 years. And these buildings are now looking at being repurposed. Refurbished is one. But now we're talking about repurposing, where they actually convert. There were considerations in the past where cost of repurposing is too mammoth, is too big, because of the plumbing works and whatnot. But now the facilitation and idea is becoming more acceptable. And with technology, those super costs are now more mitigatable through structured financing, I would say. Yes, through structured financing. The market is becoming more cunning and clever in addressing this. Which then leads to the question of, if you were to talk about repurposing of all these old buildings, then we talked about urban renewal. I do not know, somebody actually in the audience was actually asking me about URA, the Urban Renewal Act. Urban Renewal Act is actually, amongst other things, is to actually look at some of the older buildings, the aged buildings, dilapidated buildings, and some abandoned also, to look at especially those that are within city centers, prime locations, with potential that can be actually polished up. This is where URA, the Urban Renewal Act, is supposed to come into play. Although the debate on the implementation of Urban Renewal Act is still ongoing, and we totally understand the concerns, because as opposed to what we actually have right now, where 100% for a strata development, that is, 100% consent from all owners is required for you to sign up for a redevelopment or repurposing or re-engagement of the building. But with URA, the Renewal Act, there's a notion of reducing such threshold to a lower percentage, similar to what we have in Singapore. But there is a difference between the market in Singapore and the market in Malaysia. The income disparity within different neighborhoods and the profile of owners can actually deviate from one angle to another. There are city center buildings where most of the owners are actually businessmen, people in the middle income or high income group. But equally as frequent, we see developments that are owned by those who actually bought the property 40 years ago. They were okay to actually buy the property then, but if you were to actually ask them to move out, for them to actually make a purchase of another property that's similar, it's going to be very tiring, very difficult. So that's why we actually see that things should be actually followed through in terms of refinement, so that there's a win-win solution.